The act of seeing is realized progressively. At the instance of seeing, light clusters called photons travel from the object to the eye and pass through the eye lens, where they are refracted and focus on the retina at the back of the eye. Here, rays are turned into electrical signals and then transmitted by neurons to the center of vision at the back of the brain. The act of seeing actually takes place in this center in the brain. All the images we view in our lives and all the events we experience are actually experienced in this tiny and dark place. Both the film you are now watching and the boundless landscape you see when you gaze at the horizon actually fit into this place of a few cubic centimeters. Now, let us reconsider this information more carefully. When we say we see, we actually see the effect the rays reaching our eyes form in our brain by being converted into electric signals. When we say we see, we actually observe the electrical signals in our brain. By the way, there is another point that has to be kept in mind. The brain is sealed to light, and its interior is absolutely dark. Therefore, it is never possible for the brain to contact with light itself. We can explain this interesting situation with an example. Let us suppose that in front of us there is a burning candle, and we view its light. During this period, when we view the candle's light, the inside of our skull and our brain are in absolute darkness. The light of the candle never illuminates our brain and our center of vision. However, we watch a colorful and bright world inside our dark brain.
The light of the truth. The moon ruled the night, didn't it? Invisible rays of light from the moon bounce off Scorpion's hard exoskeleton. People can't see this kind of light, but insects can. Have to go to sin and darkness to shine above. And the moon is shining, and that's a false light. The moon has no light, does it? It reflects the sun. It reflects the sun.
The idea that states of awareness might be directly related to the physical properties of the brain changed the way scientists looked at those states. During the past few decades, we have learned that sleep and dreams are related to chemical changes in the brain, that they operate rhythmically, that they involve specific areas of anatomy. The switch that turns on dreams, for instance, is now known to be located at the base of the brain, just above the spinal cord. Alan Hobson and his colleague Robert McCarley took information like this and devised a theory as to how dreams work. Here, from the pons, giant neurons send signals to parts of the brain involved in vision and movement. These areas respond as if we were actually seeing or moving. The dreaming brain has to account for these responses, so the frontal cortex acts as a storyteller, trying to make sense of them. Meanwhile, the switch in the pons keeps the body from reacting to the brain's commands.
Cells that are part of the same switch, when turned on, actually fool the brain into thinking that information is coming in from the outside world, whereas in fact it's being generated within the brain itself. And those centers are the centers that control the eye movements. You really need to make a distinction between the function of dreaming as a psychological phenomenon and the function of REM sleep as a physiological phenomenon. I think ultimately they'll be seen to be the same, or at least strongly parallel. But it's really impossible for us now to know whether dreams have some psychological function that is in some way different from the physiological functions that we're describing. I think not. Dreaming, after all, is a primarily sensory experience. And it's at this level, I think, that today we could begin at least to make some tentative correlations between brain activity and dream activity. Now, the fact that dreams have both bizarre features and striking coherence is really a credit to the wonder of the brain mind and its capability to make sense out of an essentially nonsensical situation. And so what we're seeing, I think, during dreaming sleep is the creative activity of the brain. And that really means, I think, to us that all people have an innate creative capability.
The links between dreams, awareness, creativity, and the brain, all part of the enormous uncharted territory that brain science still has to map.